This program contains adult content.
Is there a God?
Big atheist.
Really?
What am I, an idiot? Come on.
That yes, it would be nice if you could throw your sins and your responsibilities on someone else. Oh, but it's not true.
It looks like far-left lunacy.
I don't believe that it's true that religion is moral or ethical.
You don't need to follow anybody!
It's not human intelligence!
If someone doesn't value logical consistency, what logical argument are you going to give them that will demonstrate that they should?
Welcome to the Godless Rebelution. Today is Monday, June 18th. This is episode 211. I am Dan Ellis. It's been a busy time around lately. What have you been doing, Ryan?
Hi.
Hi.
I started working on my basement bar.
On your basement? Oh, yeah, I saw you.
Yeah.
I forgot. I didn't send you home with my fucking nail gun last week.
Yeah, I just took a hammer and bashed the shit out of it.
Yeah?
Just the one bar?
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks nice.
Yeah.
Is it all done? Or
No. No, I got a buddy that's building a window insert for me so I can actually have a bottle rack, like, in what will used to have been a window.
Oh, nice.
So then I'm probably going to try to age the cabinets, and I might do a copper countertop.
Copper countertop.
Fake copper.
Yeah.
I can't afford to just cover the whole thing in copper.
How do you do a fake copper countertop?
Paint.
Oh. Just paint the countertop?
Yep.
And then seal it with
epoxy?
Oh, okay. I got you.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That'll
be fun.
It's looking good.
Going for the Prohibition era look.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
As you can see by the suit, I think I saw you that was wearing that photo. Yeah.
When you were mixing. Do you have a shaker?
Oh, yeah. I got like
Because you were stirring that fucking drink for a long time. Like, you could just shake that shit.
That one was supposed to be stirred.
Oh, yeah?
That was a stir drink, not a shake.
Stirred, not shaken.
Yeah.
And in studio with us tonight, we have Sarah.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Excellent. We brought Sarah in to talk to us about what it's like to be a reporter in the age of Trump, because he's a turd and it makes things difficult. And you have a background of doing journalistic things.
Yep. Background. Da, da, da.
So what did you do over the last week?
I drank fancy martinis, spoiled my dog, applied for a ton of jobs.
Yeah.
And, I've been editing a video for a friend who is at, she's an AmeriCorps at, did you see that? Did you see?
Good use of the cough button.
I have a friend who's currently working at the Utah Health and Human Rights nonprofit in Salt Lake City. They deal with refugees that are survivors of torture. So they haven't done a video before. And they have a fundraiser coming up on the 25th. So she asked if I would help them out with that. And I was like, I've got plenty of time right now. I would love to.
As a matter of fact, I'm looking for something to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I interviewed one of their main people, and then I spoke to 3 refugees. One of them was a woman from the Congo that fled to Rwanda. So, thank you. But, yeah, so that's been about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I read books. I haven't done that in forever. So.
I have an ever-increasing pile of books that I need to read.
Yeah, me too.
And I just have not had the time, man.
All you gotta do is get laid off, and you'll have all the time to read all the pile of books.
I think I would prefer that my stack of books keeps piling up.
But you should definitely check out Educated. That's the one I just finished. About a real story about a young woman who grew up in Idaho, in kind of this mountain area with kind of a fundamentalist family, not quite LDS. They're kind of off on their own crazy branch. And just what it was like.
It wasn't an offshoot of the LDS faith?
It was more that her dad probably had mental health problems. She thought bipolar later on when she learned more about mental health concerns, but
just like all good sect leaders.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. You can borrow it if you want.
It would just end up in the pile on my on my nightstand. Seriously, I think I have four actual books and then a bunch of shit on my Kindle that I'm still going through. I have books that I have yet to finish because I'll start reading something because we've got a guest coming on the show or whatever, and then I love the book and I get 3/4 of the way through it, and then I have to move on to other things, and I want to finish these books that I've got 4 or 5 books 3/4 of the way finished and haven't completed them yet.
I tried the free trial of Audacity. Didn't like it.
Oh yeah. I haven't ever listened to an audiobook.
Yeah, that's
well,
the
no,
problem.
It's
all up to who's reading the audiobook. I got Audible, yeah.
Yeah, Audacity is the
what we're
free
recording
audio.
Yeah, we're recording on Audacity right now. We like Audacity.
Satan.
It's Audible.
No.
But yeah, it's just the voice of the people that were reading the 2 books I had on there made me want to fall the fuck asleep. They were not enthusiastic or any. It's just a monotone reading of the book. I'm like, this sucks.
So I just said that I have never listened to an audiobook, and that's a goddamn lie. I've listened to all of the Harry Potters on as audiobooks because the guy who does the reading for it is fucking awesome.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That would be cool.
His name is Jim Dale.
Yeah.
His name is Jim Dale, and he does voices for all of the characters.
Oh, okay.
And,
see, that would be interesting then.
It's really good. He's really, really good. And then I also listened to... what's that show that was on Stars for a little bit? Of Gods and something.
American Gods?
American Gods, yeah. I listened to that on an audiobook. That was really good.
I still have to watch the show and read the book.
The show was good. The book was much better. And the show, I think, has been canceled now.
Oh.
No, I thought it had a second season coming up. Really?
I think it's been canceled, yeah.
Bummer.
Or that... Maybe it wasn't... I can't remember if it was canceled or some of the big name people are like, no, I'm not going to do it. So
Bart Ehrman's really good at reading his own books.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the other thing too, is that a lot of people write these great books and then it's not them reading it, it's somebody else. So
yeah.
That just seems weird to me.
I think that makes a difference if the person reading it is...
Wait, that does seem weird to you?
Yeah. I mean, unless it's,
because I was going to say, J.K. Rowling didn't read those books.
Right, yeah. But, I mean...
Because there was someone far better to do it for her.
But that was somebody, acting out the book, basically. Mm-hmm. But if you're just writing a nonfiction book and then have somebody else read it, it seems...
would you really want to read books with Stephen King reading them?
Maybe.
He doesn't seem like he's very energetic.
Sam Harris does his own books.
Know?
Yeah.
And they're fine.
That's actually the next book I'm trying to read because I've owned it forever, is The Moral Landscape.
I have that one and have not yet read it. It's one of those books that just keeps piling up.
Ditto.
What did I do? Oh, what did you guys do for Father's Day?
I drew on my car.
Drank martinis.
I got to go to my dad's house.
Kid.
I got to go to my dad's house.
Did you want to go?
You like the enthusiastic? I got to go there.
Yay!
It was all right. I was reminded though that my sweet little LDS grandmother is very racist. We're sitting around the table, and it's me and my kids and my dad and my grandmother. And I can't remember what got us talking. Oh, it was because my daughter worked at Starbucks for a little while. And and now she's not, she's working somewhere else. And my grandmother asked her, "Oh, were you working at Starbucks when that whole thing happened with the black guys in the Starbucks?" And my daughter said, "No, I wasn't. And if I had still been working there, I would have quit after that. Not only for what happened, but the company's response to it." And so my dad, I think, said, "Well, what are you talking about?" And my grandma said, "Oh, well, there were these black guys that hadn't even bought anything, and they're just loitering. They're sitting in the Starbucks, and then the manager asked them to leave, and they wouldn't, and so they had to call the police, and there was this whole big thing." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, but that's not what happened." And so I explained to her, they were waiting for a friend. They hadn't yet purchased anything, but Starbucks policy is that you can just go in there and hang out.
Yeah. You can literally go in and use their internet.
Yeah, you don't have to buy anything. You can just go in there and hang out. That's their policy. You don't have to purchase anything. Yeah. And so I told my grandmother, you know, that they were waiting for a friend, and one guy had asked to use the restroom and was told that he couldn't, and because they hadn't bought anything or whatever. Yeah. And then that a white guy came in after them, just right off the street, walked up to the counter, said, "Hey, can I use the bathroom?" They gave him the key. He went in there. Did his business. The guy who had previously asked for the key, you know, spoke to him after he came out and said, "Hey, do you mind if I ask you a question? You know, you just walked out of the restroom. Did you purchase anything?" And the guy said, "No." And he said, "And you just walked up to the counter and asked for the key and they gave it to you?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, and so that's what happened. It's that, you know, black guys who have been sitting there and ask for the key are denied, but a white guy comes walking in and they give him the key without any problem. I said, that's what happened. That was the bad thing. My grandma was like, "Oh, I didn't know."
Well, yeah, because you'll watch Fox News probably.
Well, but it was just the way she said, "Oh, and it was, you know, these black guys wanted to use the bathroom and they wouldn't let them. And so you know how that's going to go." And I'm like, oh my God. Like, just because they're black and
like, how dare a black person feel entitled to use a bathroom?
And then you just know that they're going to complain about it later when they weren't able to. They're those people.
Not the right kind of paper in there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and it's doubly weird because my daughter's boyfriend is black.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was telling Tracy about the story about it last night when I got home, and she's like, "Wait, has your grandmother met Gerald?" That's my daughter's boyfriend. I'm like, "Oh yeah. Yeah." So do you think she just kind of forgot for a second? And I'm like, I don't know. But she stopped along that line pretty quickly when I was like, "No, that's not how it happens." I think she caught herself being racist.
I wonder what she said about your daughter's boyfriend behind your guys' back.
Probably not the most kind things. And I'm sure my dad has been like, yes to her. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but it wasn't a terrible visit. We sat around, played cards, and chatted for a while. For those in the audience who don't know, my father has decided that he's LDS again now.
Is he born again LDS?
Pretty much. Goes to church every Sunday. Like, I couldn't go over to his house yesterday until 2 because he had church. So I asked if there was anything to bring. He said I could bring rolls, and I also took a little cooler of beer for myself. And I knew that it would bother both him and my grandmother, but it's like, it's Father's Day. It's also Father's Day for me.
Yeah.
So
and you're a fucking adult.
Yeah. I'm 44. I keep forgetting that I'm 44 now. I keep thinking I'm 43. When I'm 44 years old, I can fucking take a beer and just, so I walk in with the cooler and I see my dad glance at it and glance at my grandmother, and then she glances at me and glances at the cooler and glances at my dad. And I set it down and we're just chit-chatting, whatever. And my dad asks the kids if they want anything, and they got their sodas. And then I walked over to my cooler and I pulled out a beer. And again, there's this exchange of glances between my grandmother and my dad. And then they disappear into another room for a little while. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, man, grow the fuck up. But then my grandmother also mentioned something about, you know, I can't even remember who we were talking about, different celebrities. And she's like, oh, she was mentioning Amy Schumer because she just saw, I Think I'm Pretty or something like that.
She probably doesn't talk about Amy Schumer in a very good light.
She liked the movie, but she also had to throw in there that she doesn't really like how often she swears in her stand-up and stuff like that. And I'm like, Grandma, we need to have a talk. I'm like, I swear all the time. Well, not around me so much. And I'm like, well,
the fuck I don't.
There were a bunch of different times while I was just having conversation. If it was just with my grandma or just with my dad or either of them, it's not very hard to not swear. Like it's just kind of an ingrained thing. But then I get talking to my kids and it's like, oh yeah, and this freaking guy did this thing and I was so mad. Nah, it was all right. So we're gonna talk to Sarah lots more about journalism and stuff and how all that goes. We'll do that when we get back from our little break.
Hey gang, this is Jack Materko from For Infernal Use Only and the Naked Diner podcast, and you are listening to the Godless Rebelution.
What is more likely? That the laws of nature have been suspended in your favor and in a way that you approve, or that you've made a mistake. And in each case you must, and especially if you didn't see it yourself and you're hearing it from someone who says that they did.
Rejoining the Godless Rebelution podcast now.
So, we have Sarah in studio with us, who, well, let's start at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You are an atheist?
Yes.
Yay! One of us. Did you grow up religious, or have you grown up secular?
Kind of. I mean,
kind of religious or kind of atheist?
No, definitely kind of religious.
Yeah.
Like religious adjacent, sort of. It's, my dad, was Army for 20 years. So we moved all over the place. My memories of church are rare. I, actually found an old Sunday school certificate from just Camp Zama, Japan. I went through some albums looking for a Father's Day photo to post on Facebook and Instagram, and saw that and thought it was funny because I didn't remember that. But yeah, we went to church for a little bit, but I felt like it was more of a social thing, being American, being in a different country away from family.
Was it a non-denominational church or? No,
I mean, it was definitely, we sang the hymnals, we held the Bible, I took communion.
But was it, do you know if it was Catholic or?
Episcopalian.
Oh, huh.
I think one of them grew up more Lutheran, but also kind of loosely. We didn't say grace, before every meal. We had.
So they were like Lutherans.
We had Christmas traditions. We would go to church on Easter or whatever with the palm leaves.
Oh yeah, the palm fronds. Yeah.
That thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember going to church for a little bit and, sneaking a donut in the little area after the ceremony, but it was definitely more kind of a social thing just to be part of a community. And when we came back to the States, it just kind of slowly faded. We didn't really go to church anymore, especially when we moved to Idaho Falls. I was there for junior high and high school and middle school. That was hell. Shout out to Rexburg. But, yeah, it just, we tried it a couple more times, but it seemed like my parents just weren't quite feeling it. And that was kind of it. We still had the Christmas traditions. Religion just wasn't really something we talked about. It would slip out every now and again, but, after the military, my dad taught high school. So, mythology, English, ceramics, arts, American history, they let him do that once.
Then they're like, you can't teach American history anymore?
Basically, yeah.
Why? What did he do?
He asked them to question things.
Oh, no.
Mormons questioning things are not good.
Yeah, so, yeah. And mom was a kindergarten, first grade teacher, so I grew up with educators. But yeah, it was just sort of there. Like, I thought about it sometimes, and I was really into philosophy for a while. I still kind of am, but I'm not as knowledgeable as I used to be.
So did you guys, at home, did you do any religious practices? I mean, did you pray over meals or anything like that?
No. I mean, when
family prayer or anything?
No, not really. I mean, the thing that we picked up from Japan was for my dad to go ikidakimasu, which just meant let's eat in Japanese. He loved doing that before dinner. It was fun. But no, we didn't. The only times I can remember vaguely, saying grace was when we would every now and then go to Minnesota, where my mom's family is, and they're more, prone to religion than we were really.
That's the Lutheran side.
I think so. Yeah.
That would make sense.
So that was about it, really. I had one serious boyfriend in the Marine Corps that was like hands above your head, praising God.
Oy.
That didn't last.
He was a God warrior?
Yeah. That was, yeah. Anyway. But yeah, no, I just didn't. It wasn't something I really thought much about. And then it was something I sort of, would see things that would bother me, how, people would some individuals would use religion to treat others, badly, which would make me look up things in there, in the Bible or whatever, like, well, this seems like bullshit. That doesn't make sense. And so I think I was atheist without really labeling myself. I didn't put much thought into it. And then, I got to the point where, in Indiana, and then when I came to Utah, I think when you're up against something that is so very different from your beliefs and is very out in the open and causing, or what am I trying to say? Oppressing society in different ways, or affecting, groups of people, whether they're minority for, their beliefs or their sexuality or race or gender. That kind of makes you want to stand up a little bit taller and be like, I'm different from that, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, there's a really big counterculture here in Utah, and I think a lot of that is because of the LDS Church, and there are a lot of things that non-LDS people here in Utah do as a signal for other people to let them know that they are not LDS. I know several people who have. I was just looking at your tattoos on your arm, and it reminded me that during the last Atheists of Utah coffee chat, I was talking to my friend Tony, who has several tattoos, and it got us talking about the subject of there are a list of things that people here in Utah who are not LDS do as a signal to other people who may not be LDS that, hey, I'm not a Mormon, so you can come and talk to me. And it's, having visible tattoos, showing bare shoulders, swearing, drinking alcohol.
Fuck yeah.
Doing yard work on Sunday was another one. Like, there's all of these little things that people who aren't members of the predominant faith here do as signals to others in the vicinity that, hey, I'm not one of the morgue.
And that's weird.
You can come and talk to me.
So I've never thought about that, because I will sometimes intentionally mow my lawn on Sundays.
Yeah. Yeah. That's typically the day that I do yard work is Sunday.
I'm like, everyone else is making all the noise on Friday night and on Saturday, but Sunday the neighborhood's quiet. I'm like, I'm gonna go fuck this up.
I think I was definitely surprised when I came to Ogden, and I walked around and I saw all these tattoos, and I was just like, my people. I didn't, because my only real experiences with the LDS community was in Idaho Falls, and it was high school, and I had some friends who were LDS, some friends that identified as Jack Mormon. I saw the spectrum of different people with different beliefs and different levels of, assholiness. So it's the same. Ogden is a lot, better, I think, at that. There's more of a mix, it seems like, of people, which is one of the reasons I really like it here, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, one of the other things was smoking. That was one of the reasons that I actually started smoking way back in the day, was so that I could stand out as not being obviously not Mormon, because that was something that I could do in the car or at work or at the house or wherever that everybody could see, oh, that guy must not be a Mormon.
But even then, sometimes the missionaries don't get the hint that you really want nothing to do with their religion. When I can have a Satanic Temple t-shirt on, full tattoos, mustache the way I got it, and they still want to come preach to me. I'm like, dude.
See, I kind of like talking to them.
Do you not see how I'm dressed right now, even?
Yeah, you're a prize, man.
Yeah, you're a challenge. You're the.
Yeah, they're not gonna win.
You're the one that they would write back home to mom and dad about.
We had Jehovah's Witnesses stop by the house the other day, and I didn't even know they were Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh yeah.
And then I had missionaries that one time you were.
Yeah, when I was at work, but they left a pamphlet that said, "Hey, if you want to come, we're doing a thing at this event center. It's free. No, there's not going to be a basket passed around or anything. Like, there is going to be some religious stuff if that bothers you. I don't know." And they just handed me a pamphlet and left. And I didn't realize they're Jehovah's.
Until I took a look at the piece of paper. I'm like, this says Jehovah Watchtower on it.
Oh, shit.
Well, you're like, you had me until you said there's going to be some religious stuff. So you should have led with that, and you wouldn't have wasted any of our time, really.
It was about 15 seconds worth of time they wasted, because it was pretty quick.
I mean, I had the missionaries in the house for like a good 10, 15 minutes. I just,
Was it just you?
Yeah.
And they came in?
Yeah.
They're not supposed to.
I was at work.
They're not supposed to. If there's a single, single woman, they're not supposed to.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's a naughty. That's very bad. That's a big bad deal. Yeah.
It was probably also 98 degrees outside that day. And
like I told them they could come in. I opened up the blinds so they wouldn't feel all skittish and like offered them some water, and they just like talked at me for a little bit, and I just do what I usually do, is just be nice and polite and tell them straight up, I'm atheist. I don't really, that's great that you guys have something that you believe in or feel that strongly about, but I'm good.
Yeah.
And it just kind of confuses them.
Next time, take them into the basement where it's cooler, out of the heat, and there's just like a whole bunch of bottles of alcohol down there. Just make them a drink.
Start sharpening knives. Come into the basement. I have some knives I need to sharpen.
I always
we
just
can talk about it there.
Figure that if any one of them is even considering, or if they have that stereotype of atheists are bad people, and I just am nice as I usually am to complete strangers. Most who don't like proselytize at me, they're kind of might make them stop and think for just a second.
That you can be a nice person without believing in Jesus or Thor.
Most of these kids are baby-faced little, like, I can't be a jerk to them. If they're
yeah.
not an asshole to me, I won't be an asshole to them.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I don't see any reason that people should be overtly mean to these, 19-year-old kids who are sent away from home and have been brainwashed their entire lives and indoctrinated into this and think that they know better than everybody else and probably have never had a positive interaction with an atheist or somebody of no belief.
But that's the flip side of that same coin, right? That you have 18 or 19-year-old kids walking up to you on your own fucking property, insulting you by saying they know better than all the time and effort we've put into researching stuff. And I don't think a little bit of, hey, this is fucking bullshit is going to be really that bad for them either.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm talking about people who like, I saw some missionaries on the road and I threw a drink at them.
I would never do that.
No. The only button I pushed, because he kept pushing me, is like, well, have you ever picked up do you need it? I'm like, no, we got a copy. It's right over there. Like, but have you really looked at it? Have you ever like really read it and thought on it and, prayed?
Like, yeah, I got really high one. I just stared at it.
And I just, said, well, I don't really pray because I'm atheist. But, the one thing that always stood out to me was the fact that there's absolutely no archaeological proof of what the book talks about, happening in the Americas.
Well,
I just threw one thing out there to see what he did. He got defensive and I'm like,
well, and a lot of the claims in the book are demonstrably false. Yeah. Like, they're just like, it can't have happened that way. Like talking about riding horses and
steel.
Well,
having steel swords and these great battles where millions of people died and that didn't happen.
And there's, I think, the department at BYU backing up that this is not, there's nothing to show this.
Yeah.
That's like your school. It's named after one of your guys. And they're saying like, not really.
Yeah. I always try to be nice to the missionaries, and it's not until they try to get preachy or super judgy with me that I'm like, look, man, we can talk all day about the weather and sports and whatever else, but don't try to pretend that you know more about your religion than I do, because I was formerly LDS and have learned a lot more about it since then. I'm much older than you. I've taken a lot of time researching this as well as, a bunch of other religions. What do you know about Wahhabism? What do you know about Buddhism? You don't know jack shit about those, so you can't really say that I need to investigate everything in the Book of Mormon and I need to do all of that to determine whether it's true, when you haven't done that with any other religion at all. And then they're usually like, well, it's time for us to leave now.
Yeah, the only ones I've ever gotten like pissed off with and gotten confrontational with were Jehovah's Witnesses that came by my house once.
Oh, yeah.
Because they started going off on how DNA or science proves through the use of DNA that Jehovah's real. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
No, that's something else that really pisses me off, is when they try to justify their religious claims by shoehorning science.
Well, and it's bad science.
Yeah, and it's like you can't you don't get to fucking do that. Like you can have your religion or you can have your science, but you can't fucking mix the two. Really, they're incompatible.
Well, the thing that's shitty about it is because they shit all over science and when it doesn't fit. Yeah. And then they turn around and try to add credibility to their story by using it in an improper way.
Yeah, when they think it suits them.
Yeah, that's fucking bullshit.
And I think the way they were phrasing it was going with the structure of DNA is so unique. They're going with like the watchmaker type thing. Like it had to have been created. There's no way, like you just can't evolve this. Like that doesn't happen. You need this to start with, the DNA strands, all your chromosomes and everything. And I'm like, no, because you got like RNA, and then all the proteins and all the other stuff that creates like the RNA that became DNA can exist all on its own. So nothing says that they couldn't have formed an organism.
Well, yeah, and if your designer makes these really complicated things that work so well, then why are there such horrific, terrible design flaws all the fucking time? You know,
why do my balls stick to my thighs?
Well, and I'm not even talking about just like things like horrible birth defects or anything like that, but just even a normal, healthy human being, how poorly we're designed for shit. Where all of our major organs are exposed when we're standing. You know, we breathe through the same hole that we have to take food and water into.
Our entertainment center is right next to a sewage complex.
Yeah. All of that is just really fucking terrible design.
Our blood vessels are designed to be clogged up.
That there's a light spectrum that is, you know, this wide, and we can see like this tiny narrow band of the spectrum.
Well, even our vision compared to other animals
some of us can see a little bit wider.
Yeah, true.
He really hated me.
I don't know about tiny, but
he's like, I know this guy's going to grow up to be an atheist. I'll make him fucking colorblind
and redhead.
That way, nobody will like him, and he won't be even able to see why.
He's going to start without a soul.
Yeah, he won't even know what color his hair is. Why are they making fun of me?
So you grow up sort of religious-ish, a little bit, tiny bit. What led you to finally say, no, I'm an atheist?
I think it was just a little bit because when I was in South Carolina, I had a friend who we just were talking about religion one night. I don't remember why she brought. Never mind. I do. She had a boyfriend, now husband, who came up from a religious background, and he didn't mind that they had different beliefs. But she was talking about it with me and was like, "Oh, actually, I don't believe in God or any of that stuff either." And and said the word atheist, I think, the first time talking to her that night. And that was a couple years ago. So then it was just one friend after that I'd talked to a little bit. But yeah, like I said, it wasn't something I was really vocal about. I just didn't see the reason at that time. And then, when I came to Utah, from Indiana.
Culture shock.
That, I didn't mind talking about it. And then there was an assignment that, while I was working at the Standard Examiner, that took me to take photos of Unday School at Grounds for Coffee in 25th and Ogden.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was like, oh, that's cool. Like people get together and, that either are complete atheists or kind of just checking it out. That's really awesome. I never thought about that. It kind of reminded me of this book, Socrates Cafe, except, as people identifying as atheist. Then I found out, there's Atheists of Utah. I'm like, wait, we're organized? You can join a club?
Well, we try to be a little bit organized.
Like I just barely started checking out like the Thinking Atheist podcast. And, I'd read Christopher Hitchens before, but I hadn't really delved into, that community. So it wasn't until I got here that I, did the Unday School assignment. And then I went back a couple of times just on my own time and met this one. And I think before
this guy right here?
Yeah, that guy right here. And I think it was actually before that, I'd started listening to your podcast because I think it was Tim Jacobson told me about it at an Unday School. I was like, oh yeah, I'll check it out.
So you were stalking me.
It was not stalking. It was weirdly like around the same time. I was like, wait a minute. Your voice sounds really familiar. No, you brought it up first, actually. I'm like, oh, yeah.
I don't remember.
But it's all blurred now.
Did he walk up to you? He's like, "Hey, I got this podcast. You might have heard me on the Squawk Box.
Probably. I don't remember.
I'm kind of what you call famous.
Anyway,
I got a Nissan.
The important thing is that I thought it was really cool that AOU was a thing, and there's things you could do to get involved in the community as while identifying as atheist. So, yeah.
Nice.
Here I am.
Yay. So you moved around with your family a lot when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
What brought you to Utah?
Oh God, what's the best way to shorten this? So, no, I've lived all over the country, first as an Army brat, and then I actually went into the military for 4 years after high school in the Marine Corps. Moved around a bunch in that.
Hoo-ha.
Yeah. It's
hoo-ha.
Hoo-ha.
Not that I care. It's oorah, but it's all same difference. It's fine.
Yeah, I knew that. I was just testing you. I thought you were really in the Marines.
I thought a hoo-ha was something different.
We have those too, but anyway. So yeah, I was primarily in North Carolina for that, and then went to school in Montana because I missed my family. And then went into journalism and then moved around a bunch again. Couple internships in Michigan and Detroit, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
So did you go to school for journalism specifically?
Yeah, University of Montana. No, it was cool being back. I could drive to see my folks rather than every other, year for a plane ride home from, the East Coast. It was great to be that close. And mountains. Mountains were awesome. And then I eventually made my way to South Carolina for 5 years. That was my first full-time job as a journalist. I keep moving away from the mic.
Yeah, you do.
Sorry.
We'll get you trained eventually.
Damn it. So yeah, I was in South Carolina, loved it down there, just the culture and history. And I mean, in my job, I spend a lot of time talking and listening to different people with different backgrounds and different beliefs. And, it's kind of one of the things I love about what I did at this point, but one of the reasons I went into it. So, I enjoy, hearing where other people come from and why they think the way they think. Frankly, if we had more conversations and less yelling, maybe things would be better. I don't know. That's the optimist coming out at me for like a split second. Now it's going to go away and die again.
No, you're absolutely right about that. The problem is only one side's willing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but the other side's willing to say this. The other side won't talk.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Oh no, it was yesterday at my dad's. We were talking about politics, and oddly enough, my dad and my grandmother both just detest Donald Trump. They're both.
I still find
Democrats.
that strange, even though I've never met either one of them.
Yeah, I still find it a little.
I heard it's starting to become a slow trend.
That more and more people are disliking him.
Yeah.
Well, with a lot of his recent actions, I can't imagine why that would be.
Far too slow.
But we were talking about, and I wish I could remember the article that it was, but they talked about the spheres of influence and the media that people consume on the left versus the right.
Yeah.
And they had this cool scatter plot of.
I know what you're talking about.
It was like there, on the
like the
left
Fox
hand,
News versus CNN.
Well, yeah. Well, on the left hand side, it was all these points of Democrats and the media sources that they consume, and it was this
Bloomberg. All that.
It was like all of this stuff on the left, and then over on the right, it was this really densely, tightly packed little like red blob, and it was just like Fox News, Breitbart, and there were like 2 or 3 things, and it was all super right wing, and there were a bunch of blue dots surrounding that still consumed those resources as well. But there were all, so the blue was like scattered all over the map, and the red was just this tightly packed little thing. Like they don't listen to anything that doesn't confirm what they want to believe.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't want to go outside. Yeah, they don't want to leave their comfort bubble.
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah. And they bitch and moan and complain all the time that nobody listens to them. But they're not listening to anybody else that doesn't already confirm what they want to believe.
And the reason why people don't listen to them is because they don't have anything valuable to say because they aren't educating themselves.
Yeah.
When they talk about stuff, they're bringing up, I mean, Fox News is like 34% accurate, right? The things they report on. No,
I thought it was less than that.
I know. No, but for real, 34% of the stuff that they say on Fox News is legitimate news. They're not talking about those things, right? Because those are like little things that blow by on the ticker and, stuff that they're not paying attention to. So they're bringing up some of this 60% of stuff that isn't real. And they try to talk to and Democrats are going, I don't even know what to say to this because this isn't anywhere of all of the 12 news sources I've looked at.
Yeah.
When they start off a sentence with, well, if I had to guess.
And then the conservative goes away, well, Democrats are so uninformed, they don't even know this one thing.
Yeah.
That does happen all the fucking time, and it's so frustrating. Or they'll come at you with something that it's like, okay, well, that's not true, right? No, it is. I saw it on the news. And it's like, yeah, but your news sources are fucking terrible.
I attacked a lady on one of those today, and you would have been proud of me.
Did you jump on her monkey style?
Kind of. She posted something out there in one of the things like, hey, I've done my research. I'm an attorney. I'm a very educated woman and all this stuff. And she goes, and I did my research and vaccines are horrible. Look what Sweden did. Sweden banned vaccines and did this and this. I looked it up. I'm like, okay, let's go see. And I'm like, well, this is from a blog that you're giving a link to. And I had to Snopes it. Went on there. It's like, oh, okay. So they didn't ban vaccines. They still do it the same way they've always done it. And there was 2 bills that came up for mandatory vaccinations and they didn't pass. So there's no ban. There just wasn't a law passed. And the reason why they didn't pass a law is because...
There's no ban. They're just telling you that you don't have to do it.
You don't have to do it. And the reason why they said, why make it mandatory when 97% of the population gets vaccinated by the age of 2 anyways? Like, people are doing it on their own. And the small percentage that aren't probably have medical issues or a reason why they're not getting vaccinated. Mm-hmm. So, like, we're already a vaccinated country, so we don't really got to worry about forcing people to
solution,
do it.
Like, what are we trying to fix here? It doesn't seem to be a problem.
But she was putting it across saying, see, Sweden saw that vaccines were harmful and dangerous, and now they're not getting vaccinated anymore. It's like, no, actually, almost 100% of Sweden is vaccinated. That's why they don't have to make it mandatory.
Mm.
There's just the problem is there's so many different layers of bullshit to get through that if you don't have strong critical thinking skills, you're going to miss it. I mean, there's information now about how easy it is to twist scientific reports.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then you have the different, the 24-hour news cycle and the, how the competition can, that competitive BS can lead to, a decay in quality. And you have just the wonderful internet that, if people want to just reinforce, kind of like what you mentioned earlier, reinforce what they already think, they have, a plethora of options to do that. I feel like in, oh gosh, how can I organize my brain right now? I was going to say,
like, I would include blogs into that too, I think. Because people quote someone's personal blog all the time. It's like, well, that person just is sitting in their underwear playing Xbox possibly and eating Cheetos and going, I got a thought on this.
I mean, I feel like I wish I'd looked this up before I came here, but what's been happening to media over the past more than a decade, look at how information used to be, sent out to the public, with, more local based news organizations that knew more about what issues were important to that specific community. And as, ad revenue has gone, to shit, more newsrooms have, shrunk or, news stations have shrunk or closed or been bought up by one of the big, 6 media companies in the country. Like
Sinclair.
Yeah. Well, not even Sinclair. We got Viacom, AT&T, Fox. So yeah. Comcast. I'm missing the other ones, but point is that's kind of even like a whole other shit show there. But without that local voice actually connected to the local communities, they go up when they go to the national media that is more and more like, I feel like, the country divided. So instead of getting that, objective view, with it, where it's just verified information so that people can make an informed decision, they're getting, the blue version of the news or the red. And it's not, helping anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But those small local newsrooms in, smaller rural areas can't support themselves, like bigger companies can with, digital papers.
It's strange, too, that it seems like nobody really pays attention to local news.
Yeah.
Or not that they don't pay attention. They pay much less attention to local news than they do like national level stuff. And I guess it's almost like it's being patterned after our election cycles, where people everywhere make this big deal about who did you vote for president. And that seems to be the only question, but it's like, well, who did you vote for the school board? Who did you vote for your city council? Who did you vote for your governor? These are the people who are affecting your life in a big way here locally. And nobody ever talks about that. It's always national level politics that seem to capture everybody's attention. Maybe it's because that is a way for people across distances to relate to each other a little bit more. I don't know. But it seems strange to me that we don't pay more attention to what goes on in our local communities as we do to what happens nationally.
I think when you're getting bombarded by, the national news on Twitter, Facebook, across the social media board, then that just on the, TV stations, it just sort of sticks more. I think unless you understand what, the county sheriff's race is going to do for your community or the school board or, you don't care, until it's too late. So, yeah.
So you've been living in Utah for how long now?
I got here late October of 2015.
So fair
almost 3
amount of
years.
time, yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. And you were working at the Standard Examiner. What were you doing there?
When I first got here, I was hired as the visuals editor, so I was in charge of the photo department. Did that for about a year, and then stepped down from that and went back to just being a photographer, videographer, reporter, web designer-ish. Like I can't code worth a damn, but I can figure out WordPress.
Yeah.
And I can help by going, that would look pretty. Someone who can actually code, maybe do that. Can we do that? Do that. Yeah. So a little bit of everything, really. Whatever I needed to do to do the job.
And so what happened there? You're no longer with the Standard Examiner. What is going on in our local media, man?
I think you got Sinclaired.
Yeah, and more like Sandusky'd. But so Ogden was.
I'm thinking Sandusky. What? What is
Sandusky News Group? It was our former owners.
And I was saying you got Sinclaired, like Sinclair, the very conservative newspaper that takes over, or news channel people that take over.
Media Corporation.
Other local news groups.
Yeah. So was the paper purchased?
Yeah. So we were owned by Sandusky. They're out of Ohio. And then we were bought by Ogden Publishing. Hilarious because, Ogden, Utah, but they're in West Virginia.
Oh, really? Shit. Wow.
Yeah. So they have small newspapers all over the country. I'm a little vague on that detail. I looked it up when they first, like the minute we all found out, like in the meeting that we have saying that this is happening, like we're journalists, we're on our phones, like Googling, like who are these people? What's going to happen?
That's just owned by Putin.
Oh shit, is this good news or bad news?
So yeah, we, and then within 2 weeks, a couple of us found out that we were going to be gone. So yeah, it sucked. Honestly, I've seen it, at every single newspaper I've worked at though. So not to say that I was happy about it, but I was I wasn't going to be surprised if I was bye-bye. So it was me, and there were 5 newsroom positions cut. Altogether, there was 29 people laid off in the building. But I mean,
what was the original staff size before layoffs?
Well, before this round of layoffs,
have there been multiple rounds?
Yeah, going back years. I mean, I was curious about, because we had layoffs. The Salt Lake Tribune lost like a third of their newsroom. This is a year after they won the Pulitzer. Yeah, just throwing that out there. And I looked it up because I was curious about, Deseret. Same thing. 2016, they had layoffs. It's just across the board as newsrooms try to figure out how to make money online, and it's not. The momentum of trying to find revenue in the digital world isn't keeping up with the amount, the speed that ad revenue is tanking. Mm-hmm. So they're having to slim down and figure out how to do more with a lot less. So before the layoffs, we had, a newsroom of 20, 21, 22. Now it's down to 15, not counting editors. No, I think. Yeah. So really 13.
Wow.
They're still looking for, I would think they're still looking for an executive editor. I'm not sure, what's going on with it was myself, our data reporter, Sheila, who was awesome. Our, another reporter who'd been there for a while, Janae Francis. And then it was managing editor, Ann Krisnovich, executive editor Greg Holling, and then our publisher Brandon Erlacher. So the whole leadership team was gone.
Wow, given the axe, eh? That's got to be rough. What is it about newspapers that they're having to downsize? I mean, you talked about ad revenue going in. Well, why is ad revenue drying up?
It's cost them more. And I'm going to guess they see it costs more to buy, in print than it does to go online. And, I don't have a marketing background, but where do you spend most of your time nowadays? Reading the newspaper or finding your news online and finding things you want to buy online? You go on Amazon or you Google to look for, what car you want. You go find Carfax or whatever. Most of the purchasing is online.
Yeah, I don't get the classifieds to look for cars anymore or for a job anymore.
So, when it comes to, it's just harder to find businesses. It's cheaper for them to throw something up on Facebook than it is to, buy print space. That's always been my impression. So it's very much the digital age. Print still has value, but it's not enough to keep a newsroom staff, of a quality size functional. Journalists are awesome and they're doing the same job with a lot less, but, it's definitely, taxing and frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something I've seen at every single paper every single newsroom I've been in. My first job, within 6 months, there were layoffs. The only reason I was not let go and another photographer was because I could shoot video and she couldn't. She'd been there a year longer than I had. Indiana, same thing. There was restructuring. That's actually what brought me to Utah. My boss was restructured out of the newsroom. He found a job in Utah and then, poached a bunch of us. He asked if we would come. So I was like, hell yeah, I'd be closer to family and Utah'd be cool.
My name is Mandisa Thomas, and I am the founder and president of Black Nonbelievers Incorporated here in Atlanta, Georgia. You may find us at blacknonbelievers.org. You can also find me on Patreon at patreon.com/Mandisa Latifa. And you are listening to the Godless Rebelution.
How about a bowl of chili? Hot one.
Be right there.
Antichrist will be a woman in a man's body with 7 heads and 7 tails.
Ain't that to go?
Thank you to everybody who has rated the show on iTunes and Stitcher and are following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And to all our Patreon patrons, you make the show possible.
It seems like the entire print model is just going the way of the dinosaur. Actually, yesterday at my father's house, one of the things that he complained about is that he and my grandmother try to stay pretty informed.
Uh-huh.
He subscribes to the Tribune. She subscribes to the Ogden.
Yeah, I could tell by her Starbucks story.
Yeah.
She's on top of it.
But she can't get a goddamn TV guide anymore.
She subscribes to the... Oh, she used to get that all the time. But she subscribes to the Standard Examiner, and my father was complaining because out of the last week, I think it was that he had the paper delivered twice.
Yeah.
And calls every day to say, my paper wasn't delivered. They say, oh, we're so sorry. We'll send somebody out with a new paper. And then nobody shows up. And he calls and he waits on hold for half an hour and he finally talks to somebody, says, hey, nobody brought out my paper again today. And you said somebody would bring it out yesterday and nobody did. And they're like, oh yeah, sorry that happened. We'll try to get this fixed for you. And he's like, and it's just been this constant struggle. And I've spent hours on the phone trying to get the fucking paper delivered that I'm fucking paying for every fucking week that I don't fucking get. And of course he didn't say fucking. Back in the day he would have, but my grandmother is there and he's LDS now again, so he didn't say fucking. But it was heavily implied. But it seems like the news agencies really don't even care a whole lot about trying to maintain customers who want a print copy of the paper. And I'm guessing it's because they can sense that paper, like physical paper, its time is limited. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
My thoughts are, let's flip the script for a second and say fuck print for a minute. Like, yes, there's a problem, circulation issues and getting people their paper. That's just like, I don't talk about that anymore. I had to deal with too many phone calls from people who, it would bug me too. Like haven't gotten my paper a couple times. Like, whatever. But what, not so much about news agencies trying to fix their shit, because again, less people, less money. What I want to talk about is the public willing to pay for their news.
That is
especially online.
Yeah.
We would have.
It's like, who pays for porn online anymore?
Oh my God, don't get me started.
Mormons,
okay.
Utahns.
True. Yeah, so in Utah, they will pay for newspapers online.
You threw me off. Now I got everything what I was just about to say.
I apologize.
Ryan?
Damn it, Ryan.
That's what he's
my
here
job
for.
Here.
Yeah.
Well, it's so just the American Press Institute has, awesome website, and they're just a journalism organization. And, they bring up that, not necessarily a newsroom or, a news company. You can throw a blogger in here, but that the definition of a journalist is someone who provides verified information to the public so they can make informed decisions. So I'm not going to say that's solely newsrooms. That can be anybody that with, ethics and, attention to detail cares about, the facts and providing the facts no matter what their own personal opinion is. But there is a lot of information out there online. Some of it from, newspapers like the Post or the Standard Examiner, Salt Lake Tribune or New York Times. And then you have Breitbart or, other, more biased, news sources or bloggers pretending to have the news.
Did you say biased or honest?
Bullshit.
Breitbart's the honest reporter, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Wait, I thought.
No. This is all just bullshit.
Okay, I'm making sure you're throwing me off again.
Sorry.
God damn it, guys. Just kidding. Like, wait a minute. Did I mix it up? No. We are completely like bombarded by information. So I feel like people get so used to be able to go online and throw a couple words into Google and be able to read something for free, that when, they go to, say, the Salt Lake Tribune's website and get hit with the paywall, they bitch about it. But fucking A, like it's, that paywall is there because people need to fucking eat. Mm-hmm. They do this work most of the time without a lot of thanks.
Well, and the news doesn't report itself.
Yeah.
Right. It's people doing investigative work and spending countless hours writing out what they've found.
Exactly. So it's the public that will ultimately, whether they know it or not, be harmed by this. So, I feel like we would be better off if local journalism was healthier than it is right now because of all these problems, which I don't have the answer to. I'm not good at the maths or, knowing the revenue issues or what, could correct that. But, paying online would be a good start. I mean, hell, I pay, $10 a month for Netflix. I could pay a couple bucks to, read the local news, or the state news. I mean, I have a subscription to the Washington Post online right now. And I still subscribe to the Standard Examiner because that's my local news source. And I still know people that work their asses off there.
Yeah, but once they're fired, we're not.
Yeah. After that, fuck it. But, we gotta be willing to pay for, the news that we want. I mean, right now, and definitely the media has some shit they need to handle. I mean, when you told me to come on and talk about the Trump era of news, I don't even want to call it that because the fact is he's been a lot louder about, the evil media, but, the public as early as 2012, that's at least as far back as I double check the numbers. There was a Gallup poll where 60% of the country didn't trust the news. 2012. It's the failing of local newsrooms because of lack of, funding and the ability to do, a good job with what they have because of the shrinking, newsrooms. And it's, being bombarded by stuff online that, aren't good sources of information. It's a lot of things. It's, newsrooms not understanding how to reach out to their audiences. In the good old day, you would throw the paper down in front of the front door and that's it. You did your job. Nowadays, we have to talk to our communities. We have to reach out to them. We have to know what they care about, what platforms they're using to gather their information and try to get them there. So that they know what's going on in their local governments, in their schools, so that they can speak up and vote and, better their neighborhoods. So it's a big responsibility that we are trying to do more often with a lot less. There's a lot of things in this journalistic clusterfuck that's happening in this country right now, but people are doing their best. I don't know.
Do you think any amount of that is complacency on the part of the papers that they've been kind of the only show in town for decades? I mean, that not to say that they aren't putting out quality things. Some papers are, some aren't, but many are. But just all of a sudden this boom in competition came up and they had no idea how to handle it, how to adapt, how to, what to do because they hadn't been focused on how to attract customers.
Yeah.
For 50, 100 years, since they started. And then all of a sudden now they have this extremely competitive market that it's impossible.
It's in everybody's hand.
No, it's definitely, I think.
And it's not their fault. I wouldn't say it's their fault because how would they know what was coming up, But I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I think the internet popped up and they're like, oh, this shit's not going to stick around. And they were throwing up their content for free and thinking they'd be good. And then, things blew up and that's, I think
why pay for it when you're just giving it to me for free online?
Yeah, that exactly it. I think they were really, hindsight is 2020. Again, I'm no business savvy. I'm not business savvy at all, but I definitely think that they were slow on the uptake of how to, take the online world and use it as a tool because they're still in that mindset of, we'll just throw this up and people will pay for it or they'll, buy our newspaper. This is just, it wasn't, I wanted to try to find out when, we really started to care about what we were putting on the internet as far as making it interactive and engaging. And I wasn't able to research that, before coming here today, but I guarantee it was again, way behind the curve.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's rough too because you know, if you're running a newspaper, you're not concerned about every other kind of media out there. And you don't have people working at the newspaper who are tech savvy and computer savvy. You don't have, you don't have a staff of programmers and servers and everything that you need in order to really ramp that up and make it a good online thing. And when you see your revenue shrinking, how then are you going to justify, well, now we need to hire people to get these things to publish our content online? Well, we can't really do that because our revenue is shrinking. I think it goes back to what you said earlier. The people need to realize that they have to support these forms of media and information in order to keep them around. If they don't support it with their dollar, they're going to go away. And then what will we be left with? We'll be left with the sources of media that are bought and paid for by large corporations and by millionaires and billionaires who want to promote their own narrative. Yep. It's going to be promoting what the rich fat cats want everybody to hear and think. It's not going to talk about the struggles of lower class people or middle class Americans. It's going to be talking about how great America is, how wonderful it is to be here, how privileged people are, and you know that there are a few people who are complaining about how things are going, but we shouldn't pay any attention to them because they just want to tear everything down anyway. We need the Fourth Estate. We need independent news organizations around as a check on all of these other types of power and corruption. And people don't seem willing to put up the money for that. And I fear that unless that changes soon, it will go away, and then we're going to be fucked.
I mean, I was just thinking a little bit ago about the fact that 15 years ago in the fire department, we would be sitting around the table in the morning, passing pieces of the newspaper around. Like 4 or 5 guys, like, hey, I want to read it. Give me this section. Hey, I want to see this section. Yeah, hand me this section. Now it's just guys on their phone looking at whatever news agency they want to look at in the morning for news, or on Facebook going, oh, just see what happened over here. And Facebook is their news source. Yeah.
Like most of the news I read, it's online, but I also still, like I said, subscribe to the local newspaper.
But and I think it's puzzles.
I also read it. I read it and then I do the puzzles. That's my happy place. I do the cryptogram and the Sudoku after reading the news section. Okay. After that. But I mean, that's, what that makes me think of is just the fact that there are some stories that I might kind of flip over in my morning, scroll on the phone, but when you have it in print in front of you, like you have the sidebar and the A1 and, above the fold, and you tend to skim or stop and look at something more. Yeah. And so I still try to read more than what I'm just solely interested in, especially when it comes to what's happening locally. 'Cause I get bored by local politics sometimes, but the fact is it's important and you need to know what the hell's going on, and especially when it's coming up to, voting time. I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, one of the things that I get frustrated by, there are a couple things. Let me get this out before I forget again, because I keep forgetting. I subscribe to the Trib and the New York Times, pay to access the digital content.
Oh, and good for you!
And the Times, all of their electronic media stuff is fucking wonderful. It all works really well. It looks good. It plays well on every device, everything that I go through and in order to read articles. And then I log into my account on the Trib on my phone and it's fucking garbage.
Yeah.
It is so fucking terrible. It's really fucking frustrating.
It makes it hard to pay for a service when it's
so difficult to even fucking use. Like it has made me want to throw away my phone and have just the paper there. But then I can go out onto their website on my desktop and it's great.
It's just their mobile platform is.
Yeah, and there's inconsistencies between the two, and it's really difficult to use on your phone, and that's where most people are consuming
is mobile. Like 80%
get
their news on smartphones.
Yeah. because not a lot of people can afford a computer these days and to keep up with that. And, you know, of course they degrade and newer technology comes out and you need newer stuff, but phones, like almost everybody has a phone and it's almost always a newer-ish phone where they can get that information much more easily and it's there with them all the time. So I think the Trib should and this is me who has no fucking experience.
No, I mean,
with dealing with journalism.
If you're not
really
concentrating on the mobile audience, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, but as a consumer, it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you more also about why you think it is that more news agencies don't state plainly that the president lies about different things. I watched Meet the Press over the weekend. I watched my Sunday news programs, but it was really fortuitous timing because I had chatted with you and said, hey, it would be great to have you on to talk about these types of things. And then on Meet the Press on Sunday, after I had already talked to you about this, they had a segment where their panel was discussing what it's like to be a reporter in the age of Trump. And I thought, oh my God, that's why I've already scheduled Sarah to come on the show and talk about this.
Yeah.
And now and I was just like, wow, that's really weird. So clearly I'm not the only one concerned and thinking about this, but they were discussing things like, why is it that media outlets are reticent to specifically say the president said this and that's a lie. Here are the facts. What he said is a lie. They'll say, you know, his statement contradicts what we know to be true, or his statement contradicts what he said earlier, that kind of stuff. But they don't ever point it out and say, he said this and now he's saying this. So at one point or another, he lied here. He's lying to the American public. And there are so many media outlets that won't just call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
And that's very frustrating. One of the panelists said, you know, well, in order to really call something a lie, you have to be able to, you know, a lie is something that you do with intent.
Yeah.
That you can say something that's not factually accurate. You can misstate something. You can misremember something, things of that nature. But in order to say that something is a lie, you have to say, you know, clearly that this person knew what the facts were, and with intent and purpose, they stated something other than what the facts were.
Which I think
I'd agree with that.
Can definitely be proven with Trump.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when he'll say one thing when later he says, oh no, what I said earlier wasn't true. I actually did this. Like the whole letter thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking with his counsel. Like, oh no, he dictated the letter, but previously, after the letter came, it's like, I don't know who did that.
Yeah, well,
first there was my son wrote it.
Yeah, first there was no meeting at all. Then there was a meeting that was to talk about Russian adoption. Then it was to talk about Hillary Clinton, but nothing came out of it. Then it was, and there were no Russians. And then it was, oh yeah, there were Russians, and it was specifically about Hillary Clinton. And now it's, oh no, yeah, that is all happening. That is all what happened. And Trump dictated the letter that went out.
Trump basically wrote it.
And so there's this steady progression of things where, you know, he knew the whole fucking time that whether he wrote the letter or not, you know, that he's now saying that he wrote the letter, right? So all of the previous statements were fucking lies.
Yeah.
That he lied that whole time. And that it's really difficult for news organizations to say, hey, the president just lied about this. And then it's also very frustrating to me when I watch news programs and they don't hold people's feet to the fire.
Okay.
They'll ask a question and the person that they're interviewing, you know, tries to shimmy out of it. They try to, you know, wiggle out of the question. They never really answer it.
Not with Don Lemon.
And then the reporter will rephrase it.
Yeah.
The person, you know, redirects again. They never get an answer to the question. And then that's so frustrating as a consumer and somebody who's watching this media to get information. And I hear reporters asking questions that are never fucking answered. And then they allow these people to go on these gish gallops of bullshit information that they don't just cut them off. And I've seen
Are you thinking like the White House pool?
Oh, just in general.
Yeah.
It's like when I see that, you know, Steve Bannon is going on.
Oh, yeah.
That he's going to be on the Sunday news programs for the first Sunday news program he's been on. And We're going to interview him about all these things. And the reporter just let him go on and on and on and on. And it was just lie after bullshit lie after spinning different things however he wanted, creating his own narrative. And it's like, that's just so frustrating. Like,
but they allow
Bannon
him
has a platform of his own.
Yeah.
He has Breitbart. You don't need to invite him onto your news program for him to spew bullshit unchecked. And that's so fucking frustrating. And I think a lot of people see that kind of thing and they're like, well, why the fuck would I pay for this? Why pay to see somebody telling me the same thing that they're saying on their own shitty bullshit, completely biased site that I can go over there and see that kind of bullshit for free if I want. I'm watching this program in hopes that this reporter will hold this person accountable and actually get some answers out of them. And when they don't, they leave frustrated and pissed off, and it's like, well, why would I bother? Does that make sense?
Yes.
I just went on a little rant there. How do we address that? How do you...
All of it.
And I think that's something that has always happened, but it seems to just be getting worse, particularly when the people that the journalists are interviewing now have their own media outlets where they can say whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
And then they bring them on as a guest to ask them about some of that stuff, and they don't ever get answers to it. It's just this person going on there and spewing everything that they say on their own media site.
I mean, I can't even... The only thing that makes me think of, which is a little bit different, but remember when when POTUS said, was it shithole country?
Yeah.
And there was this huge debate within news media, within at least the print, newspapers. Can we put shithole in a headline? Are we allowed to do that? Because we shouldn't do that, but the president said it. And there's this huge debate on whether or not to put shithole on the front.
It's like an ethical debate or just like a censorship?
Yeah, because it's a naughty word. And I mean, that can normally, it depends. Like,
you find.
Is it necessary to the story? Does it add to it? Is there a point? But the fact was our, commander-in-chief called another, the
most
nation
powerful man in the world
shithole.
Yeah.
So, isn't that something to hold, accountable, the fact that this is what he said and this is why people are upset? It was a conversation that happened all over the place. I think we ended up using shithole, but it was on the inside of the newspaper because we had more important local shit anyway because we're a small newspaper. But, bigger,
bigger
publications were, some did, some didn't, or some thought it was, why'd you even have to do that? That's just,
well,
profanity. Exactly. Cause he's the fucking president and he said it.
I would love a copy of the New York Times that just says shithole in big bold letters right across the top of it to hang on the wall.
So, I can't.
And then a picture of Haiti.
Well, but then it's going to be like, Ogden Standard Examiner, shithole. Salt Lake Tribune, shithole.
Yeah.
Point is that I can't speak for like the TV stations that will interview these people, and let them, go on and on and give them this platform to spew bullshit. My experiences are with, interviewing local people or having AP stories where it's, online words and you can cut down the bullshit to simplify what the actual information is without giving them like full paragraphs of their rants. Or if, a local government official doesn't want to respond to an interview question, then you flat out fucking say that we tried to get them to talk and they refused.
And I think that is one of the beauties of print media versus online or television media, that kind of stuff, is that you can directly quote people. You can print the words that they said. You can
so there's no
stop
mistaking
them.
it.
Yeah, you can just stop them and say, that's not what we're talking about. This is a print article. I want you to answer this question. If you're not going to, that's fine. I'll just say that you didn't want to answer.
Yeah.
it.
So, you can stop the like I keep using the phrase bullshit, the words bullshit, but I can't think of anything better right now. Stop yawning. But, you can, boil it down to what is important in honest to your audience about this person's point of view without letting them do their whole manifesto, using your platform to do it. So, Like, I can't even speak for what it's got to be like for some, like, TV anchors doing that, or if they have, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, 90% of media companies are owned by 6 big corporations. So whether that has any pull, I don't know.
Less now. Time Warner and AT&T are now the same company.
I'd have to imagine that there's some consideration for getting, big ticket guests back. If you have them on and just truly expose them and put their feet to the fire, as you say, they may never come back, and then your job's in jeopardy. And all this. So there's a matter of self-preservation where you have to walk this line between.
It's how can you do your job by still having access to these people that are responsible for.
Yeah. Tracy brought up that point with me when I was talking to her about it, and I said, well, if they come on the show and they're just lying anyway, then you hold their feet to the fire and they say they won't come back, what is lost there?
Yeah, because they're not telling the truth in the fucking first place.
Like, you don't have access to somebody who's not going to tell you the fucking truth anyway, so what really have you lost, other than perhaps another opportunity to expose that they're lying about things? But I understand the tightrope walk, and that, you have to basically kiss the ring sometimes of people in political power in order to report on the activities that they're doing, because they won't give you access to them otherwise.
Nah, fuck that.
Well, I mean, that's kind of why I brought up Don Lemon on CNN from the other day, where he literally sat there for 2 minutes going, no, my question is this. Do you want to answer my question? You start saying something else. He goes, no, stop. My question is this.
Yeah.
Will you answer the question? He did it like 4 or 5 times. Finally, guy said, yes. And he's like, how hard was that? Thank you for answering my question.
Yeah,
Let's
I think
move on.
There's an ability to be professional when you're trying to have a conversation with them, and I mean, it makes me think of, I can't remember what caused it, but a year or so ago when Trump said that I think it was New York Times, Washington Post, and CNN weren't allowed into a press briefing, or
was it the press briefing, or was it one of his?
It was something.
Yeah, they were excluded. I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah.
And I mean, as far as I know, they didn't try to suck up or anything. They just, they wrote about it. They're like, this is bullshit. I think there can, again, haven't experienced it myself, but in my opinion, there can be, a tightrope walk where, you have to figure out how to do, if you don't have access to that event, then you can't be there to ask the questions that you want to ask. So it's definitely kind of a fucked up tightrope when you're in, that level of coverage. In my experience at small newspapers, if we had an issue with, a local department, we would usually sit down, around a table, editors and that group, and talk it out. And if it didn't work out, we were pretty straightforward about, well, this is our job. This is why we need to do this. You can cooperate or not, but it would be a lot better for everyone if you cooperated,
Just relax. This will go much easier.
Basically.
You see that box?
But when it comes to national levels, like what you're talking about, I don't even fucking know.
Yeah, it's, like I said, it's just one of those things that is really frustrating as a consumer of news, and somebody, like I say, I'm kind of a news junkie. Like I read the paper, I watch the news all the time. If I'm watching television, probably 90% of the time I'm watching some news program.
And you even watch Fox News from time to time.
I do, every Sunday. Every Sunday, and then whenever there's a story on there that I think I should pay attention to. But it's just really frustrating that I spend a lot of time trying to get information, and I see, oh, they're going to have this person as a guest. This is going to be great because they'll be answering some questions. And then I spend an hour of my day watching somebody spew bullshit on a national platform when they have their own shitty platform that they're spewing the same type of bullshit on anyway. Like, it was a complete waste of my time. And it misinforms the public who they're trying to give better information to. Like, it's actively harmful to have that person on that program saying that type of shit unchecked.
Yeah.
And so they shouldn't do that. But I don't know how to communicate that out to everybody, and I wonder if the media sources themselves have started to think about that and examine it. And so when I saw that on Meet the Press on Sunday, I was like, oh, good. They're fucking thinking about it. They're actually questioning how they're reporting the news and what they can do better, and probably understand that there is this growing sense of frustration and resentment in the consumers of their product, that unless they can change things quickly and figure out how to wade or how to navigate the waters of the swamp and cesspool that Trump is creating, it's all going to be really bad. And he's just making it worse all the time. And I was happy to see that they are apparently thinking about that.
I mean, it's definitely, I don't even know what the last story was as far as trying to keep track of how many, and they don't say lies, they say how many factual errors has been spouted out. Inconsistencies, in his time in office compared to, Obama inconsistencies.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much shit. There's so much.
I think he's already got more than Obama had in his whole 8 years.
By quite a few hundred.
By orders of magnitude.
It literally is quite a few hundred more.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely like this needing to try to stay focused on what matters, like, what's happening right now with immigrant children being torn away from the parents, and try not to put any attention on like fucking Space Force. And that's just the most recent and probably more, contrasty example compared to like earlier when, there's similar, what do we cover issues, and I'm glad I'm not in their shoes. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But it's important work that definitely needs to be done. But holy fuck, this administration just.
Even sometimes when I watch some Fox News stuff, it seems like they're even getting critical of Trump now. Some of them, not all of them. There's a couple of people in there that will seem to be like, what the fuck are you doing, Trump? Like, I do not agree with this.
I think they keep a couple people on staff just so they can go, see, we've got this person.
That might be true. There might be they do it in a softer way than some other news agencies do, but I still see them put those clips. I'm like, oh, wow, there's someone halfway intelligent at Fox News.
Yeah. Well, even so, another thing that kind of makes me think about all this is, think of one Trump supporter in your, circle that you've tried to talk to.
Oh, they've shut their mouths by now.
Really? But really?
Actually,
whenever you try to, if you remember, the last time you tried to talk sense or just discuss something with them and they fucking shut down. So, I know, like when I mentioned way back that, one of the responsibilities of newsrooms today is to try to reach out to your audience. So in that case, maybe it's like, I could see myself hoping that if I just let this motherfucker keep talking, he'll just hang himself. Like maybe they'll see that this is ridiculous. I don't know that, cause it's trying to, definitely not let them spew hate or bull without, calling them on it, but trying to do it in a way that turns on some fucking lights out there. Like, I don't, like have a conversation that leads to better understanding that what you're saying isn't accurate.
Well, the one guy we had at work that would come in praising Trump all the time. Like, see what Trump did for the economy. Hey, see, Trump's getting you more money in your paycheck. Hey, he did this. Trump's awesome. Trump's awesome. I want to suck Trump's dick. Now he basically doesn't even come to work and he doesn't engage any conversations about Donald Trump.
Well,
he doesn't say how great he is anymore.
Better.
Well, but so he's not saying those things anymore. That doesn't mean that he's not thinking.
Oh, he's not thinking them because he's the type of guy that lets you know exactly what the fuck he's thinking. And he's shut down.
He's not talking.
Yeah.
Well, no, about Trump anymore. He's moved on from Trump. It's like, oh, Trump's old fucking news.
But we need more.
But he doesn't like knowing fuck, I lost this one. I'm going to shut up. And if anybody talks to me about Trump, I'm too embarrassed to let everybody know I was supporting him. So let's move on from that conversation and go to this.
Well, but I think you're making several assumptions there that I don't know are necessarily safe to make. Like, I know that I personally have had conversations with people where I've been a little too strident and they just shut down and decide, okay, well, I'm not going to even have this conversation with them anymore. I'm going to continue thinking whatever the fuck I want, and I'm going to continue feeling this way, believing these certain facts about it, but I know that I just can't have a conversation with this person.
You don't know
because
this guy,
it makes me shut down.
This is a guy that will argue with you for 5 hours, which flavor of Lucky Charms is better.
But that's not.
That's the thing. Is like,
there's more than one Lucky Charms.
I don't know. All I know is he used to eat nothing but Lucky Charms.
But
this was the guy at work that would come in and force you to listen to him talk about how great Trump is all the time, and he's basically stopped fucking doing that. He doesn't turn Fox News on anymore.
Does he say that Trump is doing anything wrong or bad?
He doesn't say Trump's doing anything bad, but he pretty much has just shut up. Like he won't.
Well, yeah, but that's my point. Is like. He used to let you know exactly what he thought about it, and now he's not talking.
Well, because I think he's embarrassed by it, and he's not the type. He's the type of guy like, I win. I'm Charlie Sheen. I'm winning. He actually made a T-shirt that said that on it. So when he's at a losing point,
Tiger's blood, baby. Woo!
Yeah, I think he feels if he feels he's at a losing point, like, oh fuck, this shit I thought was happening isn't fucking happening. So I'm gonna let this.
He sounds like Trump
a little bit.
Yeah.
He likes Trump, but now he's shut the fuck up about Trump.
Huh. What I want is for us to get away from the winning or losing bullshit. Like this country is just so divided.
It needs to progress.
I fuck the Democrats and the Republicans. Like I lean left. I can say that now because I'm not a working journalist. But like I wish we were more focused on policies and what they would do to, this country and, the communities in it, rather than people and the parties that they were so like, it seems just like Republicans and Democrats are so fucking focused in some cases on just winning for their party that, I mean, that's not everyone. They're, Democratic and Republican leaders trying to make bipartisan deals and they keep getting fucking shot down. And it's just someone with more political things to say jump in at any point in time, but you can see what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, it's like we're talking earlier before the show with how they keep blaming the whole immigration thing right now on the Democrats. Yet there has been a couple of bills that have been bipartisan bills that have made their way to Trump. Be like, hey, this is a bipartisan thing. Do you agree with this? Nope. Fuck that. Because if they're agreeing on something like we talked about last week, I'm not winning. I'm not getting if they're making an agreement, I'm not getting what I want. So nope, I'm not going to agree to that.
Yeah, I think that's another problem that we've created with the internet age and social media. That people are more interested in winning a conversation or an argument than wanting to know whether what they believe is true and accurate.
Yeah, it's all become dogma.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not interested in finding out what's true anymore. They're interested in being not even right. They're just interested in winning an argument.
Yeah.
They're not interested in being correct in their thinking. They're interested in winning an argument. Whether they're using bad logic, bad data, and fallacious arguments in order to do it or not. That's their primary goal and interest, is to win the argument no matter what.
Kind of like my ex-wife, you know what I mean?
Oh my God.
But this millennial generation, they get trophies for everything, so everyone's just used to winning.
Oh, shut up. I know you're being silly, but shut up.
Well, it's been a delight having you on the show. You're obviously going to stick around because your ride is sitting right here.
Yeah, so. Unless she's going to start walking home, which...
But we've got some listener feedback I wanted to get to, and then, we'll move into the Patreon portion, but thank you so much for your insight on all of that.
Thank you.
That was fabulous and fantastic. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, totally.
I'm Bryce Barkenagel. Have you ever wondered if Joseph Smith was drugging the early Mormons? Turns out it might be possible when you have a fantastic congregation that is witnessing angels floating around in the rafters and think that the temple is on fire and they're running out in the snow and writhing around on the ground naked. Yeah, as it turns out, drugs might be the best explanation. Be sure to check out my Sunstone Symposium presentation on the Joseph Smith entheogen theory by punching that into any YouTube browser. And thank you so much for checking that out, and be sure to check out the Naked Mormonism podcast. This is the Godless Rebelution.
I'm okay with this. Be good, Morty. Be better than me. The other caller! I'm not okay with this! I am not okay with this! Oh, sweet Jesus, please let me live! Oh my God, I gotta fix this thing! Please, God in heaven! Please, God, oh Lord, hear my prayers! Yes! You, God! Not today, bitch! Please, God, if there's a help, please be merciful to me. Yes, I did it! There is no God in your face! One dot, motherfucker!
Yes!
Yeah!
Yes!
Woo!
Yes!
All right!
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you!
We got an email from listener Rebecca, and she sent us an email subject line that says Mama Dragons episode.
Mm-hmm.
And for long-time listeners of the show, I can't remember if that was last year or the year before.
I can't remember exactly when it was.
It was during one of the Pride festivals. I believe it was Provo Pride, but I could be mistaken. I was talking to Mama Dragon, or she came over to our booth, and we had a conversation that then on the show I ranted and railed about because she didn't understand or know about the church's policy restricting children of gay parents from being baptized, and here she is as a Mama Dragon with
part of an organization that is there.
Yeah, so the Mama Dragons are there to make LGBTQ kids within the Mormon Church or wherever actually now feel safe and loved, and
like if their family kicks them out of the house, they'll
Yeah.
Usually have a safe house for people to go to or something I've heard about.
Yeah, well, and they're serving as advocates for children in the LGBTQ community. And so this woman who was LDS and said that she goes to church and pays her tithing and all of that was also a mama dragon and didn't know about the church's policy, or said she didn't know, which to me really, really set me off a little bit, really kind of pissed me off.
I'm like, how do you not hear about it? It was all over the fucking news. Like, you couldn't avoid it.
When you're a mama dragon who says that you're there to support and protect your kid, and yet you don't fucking know about a policy in your church that you go to every Sunday and pay tithing to, that is doing real harm to the LGBTQ community, and specifically children in the LGBTQ community. Like, it just, how could you be so fucking ignorant? You're choosing to be blindly ignorant to some of the harms of your church because you can't maintain the two things.
Yeah, because that's like news that's like right up her alley. She should be on top of all of that shit.
Yeah.
It's not some obscure thing that's esoteric, has nothing to do with what she's doing. This is exactly what she's doing.
Yeah, she wasn't just an LDS church member who stopped by our booth. She's at the Pride Festival as a mama dragon, this organization which is supposed to be working to protect children from this, and she doesn't know about this. Like, that is totally fucking wrong. You that should be illegal or something. I don't know.
You're eliminated.
Happen. Yeah.
You've lost your membership in this organization.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye. Yeah. But so Rebecca sent us in an email, and it says, "Just listen to this. I did get quite angry listening to you rant about the mama dragon. When I still believed in the church, I was aware that with 7 children, there was a strong possibility that one is not straight. I started preparing myself mentally," which is sad that she had to do that, right? Like, her church indoctrinated her that if you have enough kids, odds are that maybe one of them may not be straight, and then you're going to have to prepare for that because that's a bad thing.
Is that like Yahtzee? Like, how does she know? Like, 7... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, roughly the statistics are 1 in 10 or so, right?
Okay.
So, so she says, "I started preparing myself mentally. I applied the same conflict other members felt about it to me, and I tried to resolve it. Ultimately, I came to a place where I was going to accept my child and their lifestyle and just try to support them in being happy.
Well, how big of you?
I mean, it's great that she arrived there, but it's sad that it would actually take some struggle for somebody to just say, oh yeah, you can be gay and that's fine.
Yeah.
Because
she's... Or, hey, this is my fucking kid. I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it came to choosing between my child and the church, the question wasn't relevant. Why? Because even if I became disloyal to the church, I could not hide from God or the truth. I could imagine that the church had not a quite accurate stance, or that it needed time to come around, or that God had a bigger overall plan in pitting the church against queer people, that maybe that space you make in disagreement could turn out to be a model for humanity and could show even more, and could show even worse homophobes the better way. But then you're still homophobes, right? Like, yeah, sure, there may be worse homophobes, but that's not a stance that you should encourage somebody to have, even if it's that they're a softer homophobe. They're a kinder, gentler homophobe.
This is the, well, actually, Stalin killed more people in World War II than Hitler argument.
But the point is that I was on board with my hypothetical gay kids, but I could not, quote, choose, end quote, them over the church. This conflict was the reality. I could not choose them over the church. That's just sad that people can be that indoctrinated and fearful of being ostracized or losing out on some promise of an afterlife or whatever, that they would choose that over their own children. She says, anyway, something I never expected would happen did happen. I stopped believing. Couldn't anymore. We were basically traumatized by the church, and I could see how it was not true, and I was no longer emotionally attached to believing it was true. The conflict for me as a proxy of the church and my maybe gay kids disappeared. Within 6 months, 2 of my teens came out.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah. That is cool.
That they felt comfortable with you at that point. Okay, mom is no longer a believing Mormon. Now I can be comfortable and come out to her because I know she's not going to disown me because of who I am. I don't have to keep this secret from her anymore. I don't have to hide who I am and lie to my mother from fear that she would disown me or kick me out of the house.
And that's the reason why the Mama Dragons group kind of exists in Utah, is because kids come out and are like, well, you're out. Get the kids the help they need.
But it's just so sad that her kids lived for so long hiding this from her, having to hide it from her, and feeling fear of her ever finding out and the potential consequences.
Yeah, while she tried to decide which was more important, her church or her children.
Yeah. She says, of course it's all bullshit. Of course these men in Salt Lake City have no real power over me. But damn it, I didn't know that. And the power I did have in my life and in my community and family was very tightly centered around my identity as a woman and my work as a mother. Because that's what the LDS Church stresses all the time. Women have so little power, even in the imaginary power of Mormonism. No man answers to us. We're not included in the core leadership, be it local or church-wide, and we're supposed to be happy doing a very specific job our whole lives. Help meet to our husbands and mom. Or help me to our husbands and mom of the family, I would imagine. So I can tell you that for some women in the church, just openly saying you support your gay kid is a huge leveling up from following the party line from your little impotent niche in the hierarchy. And that's good. But it shouldn't have to be that. And it's troubling that there are so many people within the church who still feel that fear of losing out on an afterlife or losing out on their religious community or being kicked out of the church, and that they would choose to follow that fear than the love for their children. And that's one of the harms that I see with religion all the time, that I get messages about from people for years and years now. I've read stories from kids who were kicked out of their homes when they came out as gay, or their parents have disowned them. They're ostracized from their parents because they finally, after leaving their home, leaving their parents' home and living on their own, had the courage to come out to their parents, and their parents have since disowned them.
Yeah.
Let's see. Her email continues and says, indoctrination sucks. I'm still mad like you guys. But if you haven't been born into belief, or if it's been a while, and if you're not quite familiar with the very sparse ways women leverage power in Mormonism, maybe this note could remind you or help. And because she's new to listening to stuff and hasn't listened to many episodes or whatever, she says, disclaimer, this was my first episode to hear of yours, so obviously more context might show there's no need for the note. But I do appreciate your podcast, and I'm looking forward to more. Now on to the one with Mithrin. Warm regards, Rebecca. In Alsace, France? Is that how you say that? Alsace? Alsace! It's not Italian, so.
No.
And then she finishes with a P.S. I joined the Mama Dragons after my teens came out, which was after I stopped believing. So good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that you chose to love and support your children over fear of losing out on an unfulfilled and unverifiable promise of reward in an afterlife that won't come to be.
Yeah. And I think as you did at the top of this subject, it's not the Mama Dragons you were mad at. It was that one particular person that was in the Mama Dragons that had zero clue what her own church was doing to families with homosexual kids or a parent.
Yeah.
So that's the big deal. They should know that shit.
And as a concept, the Mama Dragons sounds fantastic, and I would totally get behind it. And you said it's I wasn't mad at Mama Dragons necessarily, and I wasn't mad at the organization necessarily, but I do think that there should be some things that they need to talk about with the people who are representing them as Mama Dragons. Like, did you know that this is going on in the LDS Church? I don't understand how, as a Mama Dragon, this woman could have not known that. You would think that even if she didn't know that personally herself and didn't take the time to find that out about her own
someone
church,
in her circle would have.
Well, that one of the Mama Dragon, that this would have been the talk among the other Mama Dragons, right? Hey, this started as an LDS thing. Many of us are either currently or former LDS people, LDS women, LDS mothers. We should talk about this. This is something that they should have been talking about. Maybe they were, and this woman that talked to me at the Pride Festival just completely lied about everything. I don't know, but I'm going by what she told me was the case. So I hadn't actually given it much thought until this email, but I guess I am even kind of mad at the Mama Dragons as an organization, because apparently they were not communicating this very, very important bit of news and history of the church that is the predominant faith here throughout the state. Yeah. And that's a failing on their part.
And it wasn't like it happened
that is what happened
that day, that it had been an ongoing thing for a while. So she had time to see it in the news. And
well, it had been a new policy for a while. Yeah. At least a year.
Yeah.
And she didn't know, or said she didn't know. That'll wrap it up for us this evening. If you like what we're doing and would like to give us some praise,
some pennies
out on the internets, that would be awesome. You can like the show where you find it throughout iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play,
Podbean.
Yeah, we're on every platform. But if you would please rate the show 5 stars, that would be hugely beneficial. We would appreciate that very much. You can also become a Patreon patron, where you can contribute as little as $1 per episode to get extended episodes and bonus episodes every now and then, and other fun stuff, and just to support the show and keep it going, help us pay for costs of hosting and equipment and pizza and beer.
Pizza and beer is the important part.
And all of the time that we put into the show in recording and producing and editing and posting and communicating and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I just gotta say real quick. The 2 skeptical chaps are getting way too posh.
Oh, yeah?
They got an editor now.
Well, they can't waste time with that menial task.
I know, they got servants.
Aren't you still
doing their
working
bidding
for them?
Well, they haven't paid me yet.
Okay.
Well, that's right. You're a double agent.
You know what's funny about that, too, is they put out one show a month, and it's like a half hour long. So, like, what the hell? What do they even need help editing with?
I recorded that video to help them with the editing. Come on.
Spike has been on vacation quite a bit again. He was in Russia, and then he was in France.
Life is hard, man. But I want to make sure that we also thank our existing Patreon members. That would be Vanessa,
Michelle Short,
Christy Kalbach,
Newmania,
Alan Firth,
Larry Wilson,
Two Skeptical Chaps,
Let the Meat Kofefi,
Stephen Andrus,
The Foz,
Janet Uter,
Jeff Peterson,
Marius Kot Butrakowski,
Utah Outcasts,
Megan Kennedy,
Andrew Vodopich,
Grandy Hamrick,
Jeremy Goodson,
Angelica Pearson,
Wesley Aaron,
Savita Kuna,
Purple Dragon,
and Taylor Grin.
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. Many of you who are our patrons have been patrons for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, especially even more. Thank you so, so much. And so, until next week, crucify Steve Bannon.
Leave a review for good news.
And rate the show 5 times a day toward Breitbart.
Didn't the army, one of their options kind of look like little tiger stripes in their digicamis?
Yeah, but they didn't
really
go with
cute.
it.
It was so adorable, though.
It was like a 1970s tiger
like
stripe.
little army tigers bouncing around.
Because they're bouncy.
I told him where to go fishing out there, and he
Well, you
caught his first wiper on Willard Bay.
pooped my cherry?
Popped. Well, but things might matter. It does say pooped. It does say pooped. He probably meant to say popped. I didn't write it, but he...
You didn't ask him about it?
I'm so confused.
I pooped your cherry?
Because I just saw it really quick, and I just saw that. And, like... So yeah, I guess he pooped my cherry. I told him not to eat it whole.
Oh my god, what the...
It's a tricky dick!
Just hold on. This is the first penis I've ever wanted to frame. This is beautiful. It's like, look at it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see it yet.
It's got a fucking monocle.
We were just talking about your penis and and I was like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, you got an awesome penis.
Oh, thanks.
So does Tricky Dick always just sit down for doing his magic, or does he come to attention once in a while?
He's kind of at attention, isn't he?
I don't know. He looks quite wrinkly.
He is pretty wrinkly.
He's kind of a pug penis.